Alright, hello class. We are going to get started with updating our table of contents. So the first thing is levels of organization on page 17, read choice output, page 18. Once you have that updated, you can flip to page 17 with me so we can take some notes. Alright, so go ahead and start by labeling the top levels of organization. So we are going to be talking in this unit about molecules for life. So literally it's the life molecules, the molecules that you will find in living organisms. But you have to kind of start smaller than that and kind of work your way up to the largest level of organization in order to fully understand what a macromolecule is or a biological molecule is. So we're going to do that. I'm just going to kind of walk you through from the smallest unit to the largest unit, and there's a lot of drawing involved, but I'm not expecting you to be artists, but just try to draw something similar to what I've drawn, as neat as you can. Everybody will have differing abilities. As we go, I want you to have a different color to be underlining the word organ, because you'll see that within the levels of organization, that's a root word that is going to be reoccurring a lot throughout this. Okay, so we're going to start with the smallest unit. I'm sure you've heard the joke, never trust an atom, and that's because they make up everything. Well, that's a joke for a reason. It's because atoms are literally making up everything. This is living, non-living, doesn't matter. I believe Miss O'Connor taught you about this, so I'm hopeful that you are understanding what that is. From there, and atoms can look, very different, but we're going to draw it just as a simple circle. From there, we're going to draw an arrow, and we're going to do a molecule. Now, atoms, when they come together, they form molecules. This is an example of a water molecule, an H2O molecule, which you've probably seen before. A lot of people refer to it as like Mickey Mouse looking in appearance. And this is a molecule. Let me zoom in on that so you can see it a bit better. Okay. Now, a collection of molecules is going to be called a macromolecule, but it has other names. So there's macromolecule. There's also biomolecule if it is a living thing. So bio, like biology, means life. So a living molecule for life. And same for organic molecule for life. So you might hear me throughout this unit refer to a macromolecule or a molecule for life as these three things. But they're all synonyms of each other. They all technically mean the same thing. This is actually what this unit is going to be about. This is where we're going to be focusing our unit. You'll learn more about this later, but for now, just know it as this is an example of a macromolecule. Then I've sort of got an arrow that comes down to here. This is, if you have a collection of biological molecules or organic molecules, they come together and they form something in our cells called organelles. And you'll see that word organ once again. Organelles are tiny components of our cells that allow them to function. So this is actually an example of what's called a mitochondria, which it's the powerhouse of the cell. It gives energy to the cell. But there are many, many organelles, which we will learn a little bit about later. So that's an organelle, pretty simple drawing. Again, atoms, collection of them are molecules. Collection of molecules are macromolecules, or one of these synonyms. Collected together, macromolecules make up organelles, and a collection of organelles make up a cell. Now, a cell, there can be single-celled organisms or unicellular organisms or multicellular organisms. We talked about that a little bit in our last unit. We are obviously multicellular organisms. We're actually made of trillions of cells. But this is just one cell as an example. This looks like maybe an animal cell. It's pretty simple. It has a nucleus, so it's definitely a eukaryote, which we'll learn and study more about later. But you'll see there's even the little tiny mitochondria, which we've drawn over here, appear inside the cell. And that's because those are organelles. They make up the cell. So then from there, a collection of cells in our body. So let's say if this were a unicellular organism, this is where the level of organization would stop. That would be it. But within us, we have to keep going, or within multicellular organisms, we have to keep going. So a collection of cells would be tissue. So if this were, I just cut a piece out, it would look something like this. It has layers. It has, it's hard to describe right now. We'll get more into it later, but this is essentially a tissue and not like a tissue box. This is a collection of cells. And there's liver tissue, stomach tissue, skin tissue, every part of our body a collection of cells you could call a tissue. A collection of tissues would make up an organ. Now I have an example of an organ here. Again, this is that word, organ. A collection of tissue makes up an organ. Now, if this cell would know, okay, I'm going to be a stomach cell. So it would be like a collection of stomach cells would be tissue, stomach tissue. Then a collection of this tissue in the right way, in the right function, would be the stomach, which is an organ of the body. So obviously there are many examples of all of these, but I'm just providing one. Then within that, if you have a collection of organs, you have what's called an organ system. Now this is like the digestive system. I have drawn a very, very, very rough drawing of it, but essentially you've got your large and small intestine down here in your stomach, and so just sort of giving a basic outline of that. It's an entire system that functions for one purpose, in this case digesting our food or metabolizing our food, or helping our body to metabolize our food in our cells. And then my very, very embarrassing drawing of an organism. You can draw any kind of organism. It doesn't have to be a human. It can be a frog or a dog or whatever. Any kind of insect, animal, living, multicellular organism is totally fine. So that is all for levels of organization. I'm going to zoom out and give you an idea of how it looks overall. So again, you'll see that it sort of just builds from the smallest, and there are things smaller than atoms, but we're going to start with atom all the way up to the actual organism itself. Every one of these has multiple examples, but I've just provided one example in each category. Okay, now on the right side, this is actually going to be a free choice output. So you can go ahead and label it, and we will be doing a Flipgrid video on this later, but for now, I'll just go ahead and label it free choice output. And as you may remember, examples of what you can choose from are on this free choice menu on page 1. There are several choices and examples over here if you get stuck and you're not sure. The choices match in the same order here. So feel free to take a look and pick one, and you're going to do that on page 18 in your notebook. And again, I'm sure I don't have to say this at this point, but your free choice output is going to be using your notes that you just took on page 17. Anything we do on the right side is a direct relationship to what we do on the left side. Okay, that's it.